Sometimes, if I listen closely, I can still hear the waves. Why that haunts me the most, I don't know. Not the screams of my mother and father as they burned alive. Not the silence that followed. Just the waves. Maybe it's because that's when this whole nightmare started. When I lost my innocence. What I do know is that over time, this pain that I feel, I've learned to channel it, to harness its power, and create from death a horde of vengeance, and use it against my enemies like they once did to me. I was weak then, but now they are the weak ones. So hear me now, Eater of Worlds. I do not fear you. It is I that should be feared, and I'm coming for you.
What's up everybody, it's Victon here with my first 3.17 in-game build guide of the League. This one is what I have been playing so far in the League, the Skeleton Mage Necromancer. I know a lot of you guys have been playing this build and have been having a ton of success with it, and I'm super happy about that. I've been saying it's a fantastic build for the last couple leagues now, so I'm really happy so many people are getting to enjoy it now. And with all my extensive playtesting this league so far, I have come up with an in-game version of the build that I feel pretty comfortable sharing with you guys, and I hope that it gives you guys some ideas on how you guys can incorporate some of this stuff into your own build and make a super strong character. In this guide, what I'm going to be doing is walk you guys through the path of building, as we have made some adjustments to the tree itself. I've actually got 3 different versions of the build within the tree, which is kind of further going to walk you guys through and show you how to min-max the character out, like I said, in those 3 different steps. We're also going to go over every gym link since there have been some changes. And lastly, we're going to go over all the gear that I have selected for this build, and I'm actually going to go over how to craft each of those items as well, at least the items that require crafting, so you guys are going to know exactly how to make them. So for example, the wand, the helmet, the boots, and the gloves. So stick around for those if you are interested. Lastly, before we dive into Path of Building, I just wanted to mention that I have been streaming on Twitch and will continue to stream on Twitch, so if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask away over there. If you're interested in supporting the channel as well, I do have a Patreon link below, which is going to get you access to my community Discord, where I actually do personal build reviews in there all the time for you guys, and we of course in general just have an awesome community with tons of folks in there ready to chat about builds all day every day. But enough of that, let's go ahead and hop straight into the Path of Building. Alright, and here we are in the path of building, and the first thing that I want to mention to you guys is this is not like my normal league starters. As you guys remember, I usually have like, how to level it up from 1 all the way up to level 100. In this one, we're actually just going to be focusing on the final versions of the build because this is, again, the in-game version of the build. However, there are still going to be different versions. There's going to be version 1, 2, and 3. And that's going to be a little bit different in price ranges, even within the in-game version. This is not a min-maxed version. I'm going to release a guide for that, like I said, here in about a week. But there are certain steps that you can kind of get towards working towards being a min-max version, and we'll talk about all those here. So let's stick with version 1 first. Honestly, not too much in the tree has changed from the League starter version of the build. What has changed a little bit, let's go ahead and go on over to our items, and I'll tell you some of these items, and it'll kind of bleed into the skills here, because we have made some changes here. So first and foremost, we have upgraded our wand. It is now a +1 wand and a +2 wand. So the +1 to spell skill gems and +1 to minion skill gems, as well as trigger socketed spells when you use a skill. Those are the 3 most important stats. I got lucky on mine and also got a little bit of minion damage. Not as important as getting those other 3 stats. What I want to mention here is that I was going to release the crafting video within this guide, but I actually think that that would be too long of a guide. So I'm going to release a crafting video for all the items in this build separately alongside this guide. So if you're interested in learning about how to craft all of these items, check out the description below, and in that is going to be a specific video for how to craft all these items. Perfect. So that's my wand. Moving on to our shield here, and this kind of is important because it brings up actually several other items. So let's talk about it. In our last build, last league for our in-game version of the build, what we were doing was using a shield that had 2 things, right? It had the 5% life gained when you block, basically. And also, we were Awakener orbing that together with 30% increased mana reservation for socketed skills. And that allowed us to run Aspect of the Spider. I still want to do that, but we're going to do it a little bit different. Okay, so we're not going to do that shield here, and here's how we're able to not use that shield and use whatever shield we want. We're going to use Ashes of the Stars, which is a fantastic amulet, fantastic on multiple levels, okay? So it has a couple different things here that are very good, and I'll walk you through them. The +1 all level skill gems is fantastic in itself, but it also has increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. So that is going to almost take place of the shield itself. It can roll from 10 to 20%. Right here, I have a 19% roll on mine. So we're going to get that mana reservation efficiency there. We're also going to get mana reservation efficiency via our breath stealers with the anointment charisma. And our very last piece, in order to give us all of the mana reservation efficiency we need, actually comes from our helmet. Now again, I will have a crafting video specifically for this helmet. But it's pretty easy to kind of explain here, though. We're not getting an Elder helmet. It's going to save us some currency first off, and we just don't need it. And the most important thing here, though, is that it's going to have the 8% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, and that can actually go up to, I think it can go up to 10 or 11, maybe even 12, but all you need is the 8%, and you're going to be totally fine. So I think that's like the 2nd highest Ichor, and I'm pretty sure it's the Eater of the World's Ichor, but again, don't quote me on that. Go to the crafting video and I will absolutely explain it in that crafting video. And we cannot have this implicit if you have Elder, so that's why we're not going with an Elder mod here, and we really don't need it anyway. Getting the +3 to level socketed minion gems honestly is enough. My dudes are absolutely never dying. Like my Animate Guardian right now is 110,000 life. The dude is a mega tank, and my Spectres never die. It's totally fine. We don't need the minion life on the actual helmet. We have it as a gem within the helmet, and it's totally fine. Cool. So moving back to the amulet, the Ashes of Stars. Another reason this is fantastic is that +29% quality of all skill gems. Do note here that is only skill gems. It is not support gems, so just kind of keep that in mind. It also is, if you can see, it's red on the POB here. That means it's actually not calculating correctly in POB. So I did have to manually add these. So I do want to mention that to you guys. So as you can see over here, it's going to say 49% quality. That's what that is. If you can remember, I had 29% on my Ashes of Stars. So it's going to be the 20% plus another 29%. And that's how we got the 49% there, right? Very good. So that basically is going to get, and I'll kind of walk through some of these skills here because there are certain skills that are very important that work very well with Ashes of the Stars. The Balsam Skeletons is really just going to be extra damage. So there's nothing too crazy there, but of course it's nice to get a little bit extra damage. Here's one of the big ones though. Bone Offering's base default is cast speed, so 10% cast speed in itself is very nice, but now getting the extra, it's bonkers, guys. Now we're up to 24% increased cast speed. And if you guys don't know, cast speed is one of the most important stats for our skeletons. It gives them so much extra damage, so getting a free 24% cast speed on Bone Offering is crazy. Let's uncheck this and I'll show you how much of a difference it makes. Oh my god, look at that. 11 million to 12.5 million from Bone Offering, guys. That's actually insane. It's 12% more damage from Bone Offering. Pretty crazy, pretty cool. Moving on to the next ones here. Enduring Cry Anomalous is pretty cool as well. If you guys don't know, I actually don't use a life flask in this build. I use Enduring Cry basically as my life flask, and I did that without Anomalous as well. So now that I have Anomalous on there, 40% increased Warcry speed, on top of the Ashes of Stars extra quality, it's like almost instant. So super, super good quality of life for Enduring Cry there. Another really good one is the Molten Shell regular default. It's actually increased skill duration, so on top of the Ashes of the Stars, it lasts a really long time. So really nice for the Molten Shell there as well. Race Spectres really doesn't have anything that's good for it. Animate Guardian, again, it's just minion speed for both of these. However, if you're min-maxing your thing, I would definitely suggest trying to get that Divergent. So 40% minion maximum life, that actually goes up to almost, I think it's a little bit over 100% increased minion life. That is crazy if you get Divergent, but it's a little expensive, so I don't have it yet. Moving on to Tempest Shield, it's default here, but it's really not doing too much. However, if you really wanted to, you could min-max and you could go with Divergent. That's 2% block chance with Ashes of the Stars. That actually goes up to, I think it goes up to 5%. It's either 5% or 4%. Either way, 4% or 5%, that is very good extra spell block for free. But this is like, I think it's like 3 to 4 exalts for that for the Divergent, so just kind of keep that in mind. Defiance Banner is very good with the default. It's increased Aura of Effect, so you're just going to get even more Aura of Effect with that. Pretty solid here. Let's uncheck Defiance Banner. Let's see how much it affects our... Yeah, so we go from 35k armor up to 50k armor. That's pretty huge. Now, this one is the best for damage. It might be the second best for damage, actually. So Sniper's Mark. The default here is actually a more multiplier. So it's a 5% more multiplier for damage from projectile hits. Now, that comboed with the Ashes of Stars, it actually goes up from a 5% to a 12%. So we're actually getting 7% more damage from the Ashes of the Stars. So super good with that. And that's really the only good ones. If you're min-maxing, you could go with Divergent Summon Stolen Golem for increased cooldown. I apologize. Anomalous for increased buff effect, which is going to give you about another 90 or so life regen per second. If you are running Flame Dash on your build, then you could do Anomalous. Honestly, you could do Anomalous or Default. Both of those are solid, whichever one you choose. Now, I do want to mention here that there are a couple different things that you could do based off of your gear. That's why I have actually 5 skills here, Flame Dash and also Precision, because basically it's 2 different builds, right? If you don't have there's a couple things. If you don't have enough mana reservation efficiency, you can skip Precision, okay? Only at the point where you have all of the mana reservation efficiency with Ashes of the Stars, plus the Gloves Anointment, plus the helmet, at that point, you can also run Precision, okay? Until you have all of that, go ahead and use Flame Dash. And what I would say is you could remove the Breath Stealer craft there, that allocates charisma, and you would do a different anointment. And there's so many different things you could do. You could do Indomitable Army, which is somewhere. I think it's somewhere. It's somewhere, but it's great for minion survivability. Let's find it. Now I'm in Dom. There you go. Sneaky. So very, very good for minion defenses. So you could anoint that, and it's actually pretty cheap as well. The one that I would like to anoint, which would be probably the best for defenses, is this one down here, Prismatic Skin. Golden Silver is a little expensive, but +2 to all maximum resistances is pretty cool. And the reason you might not have the Breath Stealer Charisma anoint, because you might not have Breath Stealers. Breath Stealers are kind of expensive. They're like 4.5 to 5 exalts. So if you don't have Breath Stealers, that's totally fine. At that point, you just would not be able to use Precision, and that's okay. No worries on that. Now, if you don't have Breath Stealers, what are you going to use? The second option here is some gloves like this. The new implicits for, I think it's the Exarch. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but again, I'll have this in the crafting video if you guys want to check that out. It is minions deal increased damage as the implicit there. So we're going to combo that with the essence crafted, which is Essence of the Fear. Minions deal increased damage. Of course, you want to use the best one. Good thing is they're super cheap right now. And you're going to craft that until you get a good roll, along with some other good rolls. I actually personally am trying to roll this on an armor and evasion play base, so that I can also get some spell suppression, which would be pretty cool for the build as well. You don't have to do that if you don't want these. I landed on these and I was very happy with these because it gave a lot of extra dex. So I was very happy with these, but it gets you like, 50%. I think it's up to maybe 55% minion damage. So pretty solid. So if you don't have breath stealers, try and get something like this, and they're very easy to craft, just with the Essences of Fear, and then with some Ichors to get the minions deal increased damage. So that's what you would want to use. I'm currently using Breath Stealer though, and the reason that I would use Breath Stealer over gloves like that is if you're doing simulacrums, or if you're doing very difficult delirium content, you would definitely want to do Breath Stealers instead, because all those little spore pods that it's going to poop out on the ground give you really good headhunter buffs basically for you and your minions, and it's very, very good for difficult content. If you're just bossing though, Breath Stealers does nothing for you outside of giving you the Anointment Charisma. So you could do the Hydrascale, or you could do like the gloves like this instead, and be totally fine if you're just bossing. I did want to mention that. Moving down here to our, back over here. Now let's talk about our jewels and our cluster jewels. So here is one of the jewels that we're going for our in-game version. It's a minion skill increased damage if you used minion skill recently, along with the increased cast speed if you or minions have killed recently. The other good mod there is just flat minion cast speed, which is a little bit more expensive, but both those are very good. And of course, if you can get some additional minion flat damage on there as well, that would be fantastic. Those are the jewels that you should use. And there's 2 of those that you can use there. Now for our clusters, in this version 1, there's actually no change to our clusters, outside of, I guess, the addition here of Renewal, and the fact that we're doing Call to Slaughter, Renewal, and Feasting Fiends for our large cluster. Okay, now, what is the difference, however, moving up to version 2 of the build? In this version of the build, we are now using an Elegant Hubris, and this jewel is pretty interesting. So basically what it does is it removes all of the notable clusters, or all of the notables in the circle here, and it changes them to a whole bunch of different stuff. It could be any of these mods right here. The one that you're looking for is Slumlord. It's 80% increased minion damage. Now, this is not good until you get 3 Slumlords in the circle here. And obviously the least amount of points spent, the better. I personally would not recommend doing this until you can get either a 3 minion passive one with either 5 or 7 points spent, and 5 would be the best. Now the reason this is version 2 is because that is a little expensive. That's going to be at a minimum 10 exalts to purchase. Now you can purchase this through the TFT Discord by going up in the search bar, and you could type either Slumlord, or you could take Elegant Hubris, and people sell these these jewels all the time. My only suggestion would be maybe have somebody do a stream so that they can show you okay, here's Slumlord, here's Slumlord, here's Slumlord. Okay, now let's trade. Or trade somebody that has high rep, and you'll be totally fine. I have personally never been scammed. I've never had anyone in my community been scammed before, but I do always like to mention that anyway, just to make you guys feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. You could of course do this yourself if you want to just divine these. You would divine it, and then you would check all the passives in here and see if you have Slumlord. And then you'd be good to go. And again, only do it if you have 5 or 7 passives, and also just kind of know that it's going to take these points away. So these are going to be actually worthless points, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, because these 2 points are very, very good. So that is literally the only difference in this build right here, version 2. But again, it's 10 to 15 exalts for that. So that's why it's version 2. It's a little bit more expensive, but it does give us a pretty good chunk of DPS here. It goes up, I think, 1,000,000 DPS. Something is wrong. Maybe we go back and hit precision. That's what's wrong. Okay, so let's go back. Yeah, so it gives us just over 1,000,000 DPS going up to version 2, which is pretty solid. And then going up to version 3, we actually jump another 3,000,000 DPS. So we are still using the Elegant Hubris here. We actually drop these 2 nodes because we do need them elsewhere, and we actually dropped a little bit of life as well on the tree. And we're going to be using that up here. Now, this is the big boy minion large cluster jewel. So this needs to be an eye level 84 cluster jewel, and either 11 passive or 12 passive. 11 passives are much cheaper. They're like 12 exalts for the base, and then you craft it yourself. Or you can get the 12 passives, which is technically min-maxed, but those are like 8 to 9 exalts, which is crazy. So that's why I bought mine with an 11 passive. What you're looking for here is, the reason we're going with eye level 84 is because you get the 35% increase effect, which essentially will make that it's actually 3% increase attack and cast speed for your minions. It's not 4. I had to manually edit that in there, or it doesn't work in POB, so I do want to mention that. So the max roll is 3%. So what you're looking for here is 35% increase effect and 3% increase cast speed. Now, if you have 35% increase effect, that 3% is going to bump up to 4%. And if you think about it, guys, that is crazy. 4% for all of these nodes. 4%, 4%, 4%, 4%, 4%. It's so much extra damage. That's how we're getting up to that extra 3 million DPS is from this cluster alone. Pretty crazy. And I don't have it in this version of the build, but I still wanted to mention if you guys want to go even further beyond where I plan to take the build, you could technically get another flesh crafter. You could get a +2 to level of socketed duration gems. So let's see what the damage takes that up to 20 million. So now we're getting crazy, but that's like 30 to 40 exalts for that. So I didn't put it in this build, but just know that that is like another min-max item that you could get. You could also get, you could either get the +2 to socketed duration gems, or you could get +1 active gems. So it's still pretty good, but it's not as good as the plus duration gems. So just keep that in mind. Perfect. That is all of the versions there. And again, I want to just mention, guys, the whole flame dash and precision thing here is you're only using precision if you have all of the mana reservation that I do on the tree and on the items here, and that being the helmet, the gloves with the anoint, and the amulet ashes of stars, with probably at least like 16% reservation efficiency, and I would get it as close to 20% as possible. Until you have that, don't use precision, use flame dash, and you'll be just fine. Very good. And that's all I have for you guys on this one. Everything else has changed. I'm sorry, everything else has stayed the same. The ascendancy has stayed the same. Pretty much the entire tree has remained the same. We're sitting at 75 all block chance. We're sitting at, of course, 75% res, 75% chaos res. And the third version, we are sitting at, with precision, which is what I have, sitting at 16.5 million DPS, which, by the way, is only your summoned skeletons. That is not including Vol summon skeletons, which will of course be up most of the time. So let's go ahead and check that and see what that does. It's 26 million DPS. So we're looking really good with our DPS, and that's how you're able to, burn down bosses like Kosis and Omniphobia in simulacrums very well with the Vol summon skeletons. It adds so much damage. It's like literally, what is it? It's 33% more damage. Pretty crazy there. So pretty cool. And then on top of that, we are very solid with our defenses. We have an effective maximum HP, maximum hit taken as 62,000, which is very good. So defense-wise, we're very solid in this build. Damage-wise, we're very solid in this build. As you guys could see in the gameplay showcase in the beginning, we're doing all the content in the game, and we're doing it very smoothly. The last thing I did want to mention here is that, as you can tell, our unreserved mana is very low. It's only 59. That is basically enough for one cast of a skeleton, and then you have to wait a second or two, which honestly is fine. I think you have to wait about 1 second. It's really not that crazy. And the reason it's fine is because we have spell echo in here. So when you cast one summon skeletons, it's actually going to put out 8, and we only have 11. So after 2 casts, you have all your skeletons out for however long they survive. So with 2 casts, you're going to be totally fine. So honestly, I have not had a problem with that at all. If you really wanted to, you could make one of your flasks an enduring mana flask, but I didn't have a problem with my mana, and I was totally fine. Which brings me to my next topic here, is the very last change that we made on our gear to our flasks. Now, one of the struggles that I had when I was doing both simulacrums and also doing this very difficult delirium content in maps was Ignite. So what I did was, we have freeze immunity by Soul of the Brine King, and we're going to do the Peruna, the Challenger. We're going to capture him for cannot be frozen. So that is how we are freeze immune. We're going to do Soul of Relikesh to basically not be immune, but take much less damage from bleeds and corrupting blood. So that's how we kind of deal with that. But we are not dealing well with Ignite damage. So we actually had to roll that on one of our flasks. And I picked my Quartz flask for this here. So immunity to Ignite during flask effect removes burning on use. And then what you're going to actually do here, let's fix that because that is incorrect. Sinner's Quartz flask. We're going to go up and apply enchant. It's not going to be what is on there. I'll fix it for you guys. It's actually going to be used when you become ignited, of course. And there we go. So use when you become ignited, and then it will remove the burn from you, and you're totally fine. So once I did this on my flask, it felt so much better, and that was basically the only way that I was dying, even in those crazy maps, was ignite. So once I changed this on my flask, I was good to go, and everything was very, very smooth. All the other flasks are the same. We have Taste of Hate, we have Rumi's Concoction, we have a Quicksilver flask with reduced curse effect on you, we have a Basalt flask here with increased armor, and on all the ones except this Quartz flask, we have use when charges are full. That's a super good combo to basically automate all of your flasks, so you never actually have to click your flasks, and it feels really smooth to play. Very good. I think I put these in the League Starter version, but I'll go ahead and mention it at least. The Fortress Covenant and the Quickening Covenant, just because some people are kind of confused about this. Those two jewels actually do have to be socketed up here. They cannot be socketed anywhere else in the build. You cannot put it here. You cannot put it here. You have to put those here, or it like really jacks up with your stuff. Like for example, if we were to put it here, it would make all of these nodes around it actually do, I don't know if you make less or take less damage, take more damage or deal less damage, but it's very bad. So you have to put them up here, and that's the only way to do it. But it's very good for defenses and also damage. It gives them some block chance, and it also gives them some spell suppression, and also some damage. 16% cast speed is nothing to think twice about. That's like, I need that in my build, give me it. And also minion damage here is very solid. So, oh, I saw it right there. So, minions take increased damage. Yeah, so if you were to put it in here, or actually if you put it here, that would be like the worst case scenario, because that would make this go away, and it would make your minions take 20% increased damage instead. So that's poo-poo. We don't want that. Has to be put up there. But those two are very good, and they're actually pretty cheap right now. So definitely a good option. I think that is all that I have for you guys on the update for the in-game version of the build. Keep in mind that, like I said, probably in about a week here, I will have the min-maxed version of the build. This build has totally cost me around, I think it's about 45 exalts at this point. And like 95% of the gear that you see in the tree here is actually what I'm using in my character and what you saw in those videos in the very beginning of the guide. Once I get the min-max version, it'll probably be at 100 exalts worth, and at that point I'll be doing, seeing how far and how quick I can push the in-game content, like how fast I can kill, like a wave 29, wave 30 Kosis and Omniphobia, see how fast I can do those. At that point you can already do all the content, even at my level right now. It's just how fast you can do it. So that's kind of what I'm going to be pushing for. And also on this type of content, you can reach level 100 pretty easily. So I might see how far I can push my levels on this build as well, which could be a pretty cool little project. So that's all I got in this one, guys. Definitely go check out the crafting video for the items here if y'all are interested in that as well. If y'all are liking this build, let me know in the comments. If y'all have anything that you have suggestions about, right? If you guys have found anything out, also let me know in the comments. Maybe there's some cool stuff out there that I have not thought of, that other people haven't thought of with skeleton mages. Let me know. But yeah, just in general, I hope you guys are enjoying the build, and that's all I got for this one, guys. I will catch y'all hopefully in that crafting video. You guys have a good one.